Hello, everyone, and welcome to this series of Copilot with Shwetank. In this episode, we are going to cover certain few basics related to how the agents can be created in Visual Studio Code. And this series is primarily for the beginners who are exploring what are the different elements which are there in Copilot as a developer or even as a user as well, if they would like to explore how the agents function, what are some of the latest updates which are there in Microsoft 365 roadmap for the Copilot agents, whether you are building it the Copilot Studio or just the declarative agents or the custom agents. Even if you don't have a Copilot Studio or a license with Copilot, I would like to explain you how the developer tenant can be used simply just for creating these agents. So right now I'm at Visual Studio Code, and this Visual Studio Code will try to explore the entire journey about how the development can be done of the agent, how we can publish them, how we can provision them, how it can even further be deployed or published to your organization level as well. So we'll start off with the declarative agent first, then we move on to the custom agents. Now for this, what you need to do is you have to have a working environment for Visual Studio Code. You have to have a developer tenant with Microsoft 365 registered. If you have all of these set up, you should also have a node installed in your machine. Similarly, during the course of the entire video, I'd like to explain you about the different elements which are going to be essentials for creating your first agent. First of all, you need to go to your extensions, and in the extensions, you will find Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit. In my case, this is installed, but I would request you that you install Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit. This is going to be essential for creating any of the agents. This is primarily the agent SDK. Once this is installed, you will see a small icon, which is Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit. If I come to my Agents Toolkit, you can see it is asking me whether I would like to build a declarative agent, or I would like to create a new agent or app, or I would like to see some of the samples. Once this button is enabled for you, if you click on create a new agent or app, it is going to ask you whether I would like to create a declarative agent or a custom engine agent or a Copilot connector as well. Now, while creating a declarative agent, this can be your initial step here. If I click on declarative agent, it asks me whether I would like to have inclusion of any of the action in the agent which I'm building. Considering it's a beginner level, I would like to go ahead with choosing no action at all. And it is asking me where exactly I would like to create it. So I'm choosing the default folder wherever it is creating. I would like to give it a name, Copilot video tutorial. Enter. Now you can see in the top right, the solution is ready now. I'll close the initial instance of Visual Studio. Now this is the basic structure of your scaffolded solution. I'm going to trust the author, considering I'm the only one who has created it. You see a VS Code folder, you see an app package folder, you see an environment folder. This environment folder comprises of env.dev and env.local file. There are env.production files as well, which can be here. And then there are other files which are related to your environment variables. This is primarily storing your environment variables. Then in the app package, you see color.png, outline.png. These are basically your icons, which will be used for your app. There is one important file, in fact, three important files: declarative agent.json, instruction, and manifest.json. During the course of the video, we'll understand what these are, but try to understand with an eagle eye view. Declarative agent.json is the master file for your agent. This is primarily consisting of the map or the brain behind the agent, which is going to be very essential. Instruction .txt, this is where you give an instruction to your agent that in case you have a requirement that you have a grounded information, you should only be looking for the resources or the knowledge sources which you are providing to the agent, and it should not be going out of scope. It should not be looking for the web or general knowledge for it, right? And in what format the responses should be provided whenever a prompt is made. That instruction can be provided to the agent here. The manifest.json file, this primarily give you an illustration about the entire package which is going to be created when you publish it or provision it as an app. what is the name, what is the ID, what is the version of this app which you are creating. All these informations will be there in the manifest.json. So declarative agent, again, this is going to be the brain behind your entire agent. You're going to mention certain few properties here, and certain few blocks are going to be there, which we are going to discuss in detail, that what each property or tag really symbolizes. The another important file is m365 agents.yaml file. This is a YAML file which is being created, and this consists of certain few properties. For example, right now at the top you see a schema being referenced, then there is a version. Don't be mistaken with the version which is mentioned here. This is not the version of your agent, rather this is the YAML version you are using here in the teams app.yaml or m365 agents.yaml file. There are certain few blocks here. For example, there is a block for provision and publish. So this means that every time you provision the app, what are some of the steps which needs to be performed and in what order it needs to be performed, right? So for example, while provisioning, it is going to create an app, and it is going to create the Teams app ID once it is created in the environment file as well. So for example, if you go to the environment.dev, right now the Teams app ID is mentioned as blank. But once you provision it and the app is created, it is going to mention the Teams app ID there in the environment.dev, environment.local file as well. And these are some of the steps which are going to be performed. So it is going to build it, it's going to create the app, it is also going to validate the app as well if there are any anomalies in the app while publishing or provisioning. Now, what these anomalies could be. For example, you have a color.png. This is how your app icon is going to look like. Similarly, you have an outline.png, which is the outline of your app and how it is going to look like. Now, validation comes into action, that the by default criteria is the size of it should be 192 cross 192, that is height and width. And the criteria for outline.png is this should be 32 cross 32. Now, in case your color.png or outline.png is beyond the limit or not as per the standards, you are using 200 cross 200, 250 cross 200, or the outline is 50 cross 50, in that case, the validation is going to fail. So these are some of the things which you have to keep in mind, and that's where your M365 agents YAML really comes into picture. So this is, again, this is not the brain behind your agent, rather this is going to give you an illustration about while provisioning, while publishing, while building your app, what are some of the steps need to be performed and in what order. So this is primarily it is going to discuss about. Next up, instructions I have already spoken about. Then we have declarative agent. Now, this is the basic scaffolded solution which I have shown you for tutorial of how the basics declarative agent is created. I have a declarative agent already ready with me, which I can explain to you. So this is a M365 Insider. This is a project created by Alex, and this was used for a demonstration during one of the M365 community calls. So in the instruction, you can clearly see the person has really mentioned that what is the role and purpose. So what is the role of the agent which I am building? I have clearly specified that you are a Microsoft 365 roadmap assistant, and you are going to give me responses related to the prompts which I am throwing on you. I would like to understand if there is any new item or new roadmap item which is coming up for any product, be it Teams, SharePoint, what is the release phase, what is the feature ID, preview availability, and all such things, right? And in case you don't have any response, respond politely that you don't have any response for such queries. So these are some of the instructions which I've highlighted clearly as a behavioral guideline, and also some of the capabilities and actions which we are going to discuss about. What should be a tone and style? We have clearly mentioned that you have to be professional yet approachable and avoid jargon unless it is part of the official roadmap terminology. So this is a basic instruction which I have provided to the agent, and that comprises of the instruction.txt. Similarly, if I come back to the declarative agent and try to explain you what declarative agent looks like and what are the different elements which are involved here. First of all, it's going to again talk about what is the schema being used here. We are using version 1.2 for 1.6 for the declarative agent.json. What is the name of the declarative agent which I'm providing? Again, the description, and there are certain few behavior overrides and any special instructions you would like to give. Again, there is a disclaimer text which you can keep for your agent, that the information provided by this agent is sourced from my M365 roadmap API and is intended for general information purpose only, right? So while you are providing these disclaimer, this disclaimer will be visible whenever you launch that Copilot agent, and this is deployed to your organization. So they will be able to see that disclaimer. Now, coming back to the next property, which is capabilities, this is one of the interesting ones you see in declarative agent.json. Now, in my case, right now, I mentioned code interpreter as one of the capabilities, but there are different capabilities which are there, which can be mentioned here. First of all, there can be again code interpreter, there can be web search, there can be OneDrive and SharePoint, graph connectors, Teams messages, Dataverse, email, scenario models, people, graphic art, meetings, and embedded knowledge. So these are some of the capabilities which can be mentioned here. Now we'll talk about some of them. For example, right now I've used code interpreter. There can be one for web search as well. For example, I would like to provide a SharePoint site collection or maybe any public facing URL. In that case, that public facing URL can be the grounded information as a capability, so that my agent is just using that public facing URL as a source and providing the information which is there. So I can use web search, I can provide the site URL that this is the public URL. If I have a SharePoint site collection and I want my agent to be using that as a ground for responding to any of the queries or prompts from the users, then I can use OneDrive and SharePoint as the capability. And in case, in that case, I have to provide the site ID, list ID, or web ID, whatever I'd like to provide, I can provide that as well. You need to understand there is a limit that maximum 4 site URLs can be provided when you are using web search. So you have to be mindful of those validations, because system might not throw the errors initially, but while you are deploying or the validation phasing is going on, that's exactly when it starts showing errors. Now again, capabilities is completely optional. This, even you can see it, it is just an array which is there in the declarative agent, but it is an optional thing. So yeah, I can even simply go ahead and remove it. But you need to understand, if you are providing it, it cannot be blank. If you are providing it, it has to have at least one capability. You can use other capabilities as well. It's not that only one agent can have one capability. There can be multiple capabilities, just like we spoke about. For example, meetings, web search, code interpreter. There can be one for graphic art as well. If you have a scenario in which you would like to let the agent create some images or videos for the prompts made by the users. Now, these are the capabilities which we spoke about. Then there are conversation starters as well. So conversation starters are every time you make a prompt or open the Copilot agent, there are certain few ready-made conversation starters which are there, so that user don't even need to type in the prompt. They can simply choose the conversation starters there from the agent directly. In my case, we have 6 right now in this array. You can have many more as well, but there is a limit that at max only 12 conversation starters can be there with the declarative agent which you are creating. Now you have to understand that if you are, again, this conversation starters is an optional property here or an optional block, but considering you put in here, at least one conversation starter has to be there. If there is not even one single conversation starter, probably remove the node itself. But if you're putting it, at least one has to be there, and at max 12 conversation starters can be there for the declarative agent which you are creating. So overall, we have understood the basic outline. We have YAML file, we have declarative agent, we have the manifest file, we have the instructions file. These are the important files. And now we would like to go ahead and see how we can publish it to the Copilot, and this can be seen as an agent while you're using Copilot for making the prompts. So how you're going to go about it, you can simply again go back to M365 icon here, and which is again the agent toolkit. You are seeing multiple options. You see provision, deploy, share, publish to organization. In our case, what we are going to do is we are going to hit on provision. And you remember we had that YAML file in which the entire lifecycle was mentioning for provision and publishing. So those steps are getting performed here. And once it is done, you will be able to see the Copilot agent being created in your m365.microsoft.cloud. So it doesn't take too much of time. It just like as many steps you are mentioning there for validation, for provisioning, considering ours is a very small agent, it should be really quick. So in the output, you can see that all the lifecycle stage provision was executed successfully, and 505 actions in provision stage executed successfully. Now, if I come back to my yeah, so here is it. If I come back to m365.cloud.microsoft, here you can see M365 Insider agent is already present here. And if I click on it, it will load the entire chat. And if I click on show more, you'll be able to see these are the conversation starters which we have mentioned. So this is the disclaimer which we mentioned, that the information provided by the agent is sourced from M365 roadmap API and is intended for general information purpose only. So this is that instruction which we spoke about here, the information provided is right. So this is something which we have to be mindful of. Whatever we are putting here is going to be there as an agent description. Similarly, we have conversation starter. We spoke about releasing soon, general roadmap inquiry, preview functional, preview features. So all those have been enlisted here. I can come back to your M365 Insider. Here I can see releasing soon, general roadmap, preview features, and feature details, keyword search, tag-based search. These are the things which we discussed here in the declarative agent. These are my conversation starters. Now again, I come back, and if I click on releasing soon for December and submit it, it is going to give me the entire detailing in the format which I requested for earlier. What was the format? If I go back to instruction.txt, it is going to provide my information based on support filtering by product name, releasing phase, feature ID, preview availability, rollout date, tags, keyword search, everything. So that's how it is going to respond to me. It takes a little bit time, but once it responds, let's see how the response is like. So want to refine this. So it is giving me roadmap ID, status, preview available, rollout start. These are some of the things which I requested from them, and this is providing me those details. So that's how a simple agent can be published further. Here again, you have an option that you can simply go to M365 Agent Toolkit and publish to your organization as well. I can go ahead and click on it, and it will even publish it to organization. The only thing is, once it is published, and if you click on all agents, there will be a particular section here which will be speaking about, for example, here we see built by Microsoft, then there will be built by your organization. In that, you will be able to see M365 Insider, and once it is done, anyone in your organization will be able to consume the same agent as well. So now that we are done with the declarative agent, what we are going to do again is we are going to close this folder, and we are going to come back to our Visual Studio, and we'll try to create a new solution altogether. And now this time we are going to discuss about the next type of agent, which is a custom agent. If you remember, we go to M365. Here we get an option that whether we would like to create a new agent or app, or we would like to build a declarative agent. So if I click on create a new agent or app, it is going to give me three options, whether I would like to create a declarative agent, custom agent, or I would like to create a custom connector for the Copilot. So if I click on create a new agent or app, Copilot connectors, custom engine agent, and declarative agent. If I click on custom engine agent, in this case, it is asking me certain few things. For example, we'd like to build a basic custom engine agent or a weather agent. So we'll go ahead with the long chain one, weather agent, and whether we'd like to use which LLM, OpenAI or Azure OpenAI. So considering I already have something in Foundry, we'll go ahead with Azure OpenAI. Now it is asking me input Azure OpenAI service key now or set it later in the project. Now for service key, what we can do is you have to go to Microsoft Foundry, and in Microsoft Foundry, you have to click on models and endpoints. And when you click on models and endpoints, you go to your GPT-4o. There are other options as well which can be used, and GPT-5 or whatever, but those models are currently not available for me. If I click on GPT-4o, this is the key which the system is asking for, and I'll simply copy it and come back to my solution, paste it. Now it is asking me for the Azure OpenAI service endpoint. Again, I'll come back to here, copy it, come back to this, and we don't need everything. We just need till Shwetank Copilot 1703 resource.cognitiveservices.azure.com. I'll submit, input Azure OpenAI deployment name now or set it later. I can mention something, maybe weather long chain solution demo. Whether I'd like to go ahead with TypeScript or JavaScript, I'll go ahead with JavaScript in our case, where I would like to create it again in the default folder. Application name again, weather LC demo. So this is a plain vanilla weather long chain Copilot agent being created for us. Now here also, this is also comprising of something very similar how we saw in the declarative agent. The scaffolded solution looks like it is comprising of color.png, outcome.png, and then manifest file. In accordance to it also has the environment files, just like how we had there. We had environment.dev and environment.local, but here we have the playground files as well, considering it's going to open the playground for you before you publish it for your organization. Then again, we have the M365 agents file as well, which is comprising of the same blocks for provision, deploy, publish, right? So these are some of the things which are going to be performed step by steps while you're provisioning it, while you're deploying it, and while you are publishing it. So whatever steps we had there, we are having some similar steps as well here. Now here, technically try to understand, we have gone to Microsoft Foundry, we have explored the Azure key from there, the endpoint there, for going to the playground and explore the entire debugging as well. We are going to understand how the debug can be attached with your solution. So let me go back to one of the solution files. If I go to source, it is in the infra. Again, if I go back to SRC and tools, there is a file for getweathertools.js, and there is a file for datetime too. Now let's try to understand how we are going to publish it and how we are going to debug it as well. So let me put a breakpoint here at return, and let's see if the debugger comes here whenever we are making the prompt, and how we can debug it and publish as well. So let me go to run, or probably let's go to run and debug. Here you are seeing the option of debug in Microsoft 365 Agents Playground. So I'll use the same. The moment I do so, it is going to perform certain few steps, and you can probably see them in the output as well. So right now it is at the first step where it is checking and installing the development tools. And these are again following the instructions which are there in your YAML file, where you define the entire life cycle for the agent deployment, publishing, and provisioning. So now you can see my entire deployment is completed and the debugger has been attached. Now if I come back to the playground which is launched here, I can ask, give me the temperature in Paris tomorrow. Now you have to understand this is not the exact temperature, rather it is just a random figure generated by the agent. Now you can see we had a breakpoint here and it has been attached successfully with the solution which we have built. Whatever computation you would like to do, you can do that. Right now, I'm just doing a simple F5 and moving ahead just to see the response by our agent. It is giving a weather forecast for Paris, March 19, 2026, temperature 48 degrees Celsius. So it's like, it's what we have understood primarily is how to build a custom agent, how to associate it with the endpoint which is there in Azure, and utilize the playground for debugging as well in your um, Microsoft 365 Agents Playground. Furthermore, the same can be published for your organization as well. Right now, I don't have the organization attached or linked with this account, so I might not be able to, but that's how it can be further consumed. In the next video, we are going to talk about the Copilot Studio in particular, where we are going to discuss how the agents can be created in Copilot Studio. And this is going to have coverage around what are the different instructions which can be mentioned, how the topics can be mentioned, how the activity can be monitored, how the flow can be created and linked with the agent which we have created. So we are going to talk about it, but right now I think this is enough for today. We talked about the declarative agent and the custom agents and using Copilot to like Visual Studio Code for developing and debugging and publishing the same. So go ahead, even if you don't have a licensed version, at least you can try to explore these agents on your own on the developer tenant itself. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you in next episode of this series on Copilot with Shwetank. Thank you.